I thought the biggest battle in my life was building a future for my family, until one phone call revealed the betrayal that would tear it all apart. Hey there, and welcome to what's probably the hardest story I've ever had to tell. My name's Jack, and what I'm about to share still feels like a punch straight to the gut. A few weeks back, I hadn't been feeling quite right. I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just stress or maybe a mild bug. But then one afternoon at work, I went to the bathroom, and the second I tried to relieve myself, it felt like someone had shoved a burning hot poker straight through me. The pain was so sharp, so sudden that I actually cried out. Right there in the restroom. I didn't even think twice. I grabbed my things and left work immediately, making a beeline for our family doctor, Dr. Reynolds, the man who'd seen our family through just about everything, including the births of our 3 kids. After running a whole slew of tests and poking around, Dr. Reynolds sat me down in his office. Jack, he started, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. I need to ask you some deeply personal questions. They're uncomfortable, but they're important. I just stared at him, confused out of my mind. Personal questions? About what? I thought maybe it was something legal, like maybe I caught some workplace illness. All right, Doc, shoot, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He hesitated, looking almost guilty, then finally said it. Jack, I'm afraid you've tested positive for an STD. The good news is it's treatable. But it is still an STD. Hearing those words felt like someone had slammed a freight train right through me. I sat there, blinking, trying to process what he just said. An STD? Me? But, Doc, I stammered. I've never cheated. Not once. I haven't even looked at another woman that way. How is this even possible? Could it be from a public restroom? He kept his voice calm, almost gentle. Jack, I'm going to need a little more information. When was the last time you were with someone sexually, and who was it? My wife, Claire. Only Claire. Always has been, I answered, my stomach twisting into tight, miserable knots. I felt sick to my core, and just like that, I leaned over and vomited into the small trash bin he pushed toward me. It took a few minutes before I could even lift my head again. And then, like a slow, creeping horror, the reality sank in. Claire had to be the one who gave this to me. The woman I had built a life with for 15 years. The woman I trusted more than anyone else. Dr. Reynolds, a man who had celebrated the births of all our kids with us, looked heartbroken himself. I'm so sorry, Jack, he said, his voice low. Given the circumstances, well, you know what this likely means. I cut him off, my voice shaking. What do I even do now, Doc? What's the next move? You need to be completely honest with me, he said. If there's anyone else you've been with, even something you think doesn't count. There's no one, I snapped, harsher than I intended. Not a woman, not a man, no one but Claire. He nodded, the weight of it all pressing down on both of us. Then, he said carefully, we have to assume your wife is the source. She needs to come in for treatment immediately. We also have to find out if there are others involved. Anyone she's been intimate with must be informed and treated. It's not just about her health, it's about protecting others. The CDC will require us to report it, and an investigation might follow. I sat there, completely numb, staring at the floor. The woman I thought was the picture of loyalty, church-going, PTA president, the kind of wife people admired, had been lying to me. And I had no idea how deep it went. As I stood up to leave the office, my mind was racing. What was I going to say to her when I walked through that door? Would she admit it? Would she deny everything? How does a marriage built over 15 years just collapse like this? Just when we were supposed to be entering a new season of life together, the kids getting older, the time for just us finally returning, everything was crashing down around me. I opened the door to the parking lot, not knowing if I was headed home or into a war zone. I sat there, frozen, too numb to even feel the full weight of my anger or confusion. It was the first time in months I had come home early from work, and when I pulled into the driveway, our car was nowhere to be seen. The house was eerily silent. The kids were still at school, hours away from filling the place with their usual noise. I dropped onto the couch, sitting there like a statue, staring at nothing for what felt like forever. Part of me craved a stiff drink. Anything to take the edge off, but the antibiotics I was on made that impossible. Instead, I was left alone with nothing but my racing mind and the memories of the last 15 years. I kept asking myself over and over, when had Claire decided that the vows we made to each other weren't worth keeping? When did I stop being enough for her? 3 hours crawled by, each minute heavier than the last. Then the front door swung open. I heard her laughter first, that carefree laugh I used to love. It echoed through the hallway, but the moment Claire saw me sitting there, her laughter died in her throat. Right behind her was a man, A boy, really, judging by the guilt plastered all over his face. He looked like a teenager who'd just been caught sneaking out of the liquor store with a six-pack. Was pathetic. Claire's smile dropped instantly. "Jack, what are you doing home in the middle of the day?" she asked, her voice tight with shock. But her face changed fast when she caught the look in my eyes that must have been burning with all the betrayal I felt boiling inside me. I stood up, fists clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. Was this real? Had she actually brought him into the home I worked so hard to build? Into the life we built together, in front of our wedding photos and kids' drawings on the fridge? The rage that had been simmering inside me was ready to explode. "Jack, what's going on?" Claire asked again, trying to sound confused, like she didn't already know exactly why I was there. I didn't bother softening it. I let it rip. "You," I spat, the words laced with venom, "gave me an STD, Claire. I had to find out from the doctor today. You need to go get checked right now." For a split second, I saw the blood drain from her face. "How dare you accuse me of that?" she shouted, her voice rising, but there was no real anger behind it, only fear. "Don't you dare stand there and act innocent," I snapped back, my voice trembling with the effort it took not to scream. "My faithful wife, the one person I trusted with everything, has been cheating on me, and this is the proof. I haven't been with anyone else. Not even once. You're the only one." The room fell into an awful, heavy silence. Tears welled up in her eyes. Realization hit her like a sledgehammer. She knew she was caught. There was no lie she could spin big enough to explain it away. Her so-called boyfriend shifted awkwardly, probably realizing just how deep of a mess he was standing in. Without saying a word, he turned and bolted for the door, likely sprinting to a doctor of his own, clueless about whether he was the cause or just another passenger on this sinking ship. Claire crumbled in front of me, her face wet with tears. "I'm so sorry, Jack. I didn't know," she pleaded weakly, her voice cracking. I couldn't even look at her anymore. "I don't want to hear it," I interrupted coldly. "Save your excuses. Save your sob story. You need to go, and when you get to that doctor, make sure you tell them everyone you've been with. They deserve to know. Just like I deserved better than this." Suddenly, all the energy drained right out of me. The anger, the heartbreak, it all left me feeling hollow. I slumped back into my chair, utterly spent, as Claire stood there sobbing, waiting for something, forgiveness maybe, or mercy. But there was none left to give. Eventually she turned and left. Minutes later, I heard the car engine roar to life, and then she was gone, leaving behind nothing but silence and a house that suddenly felt too big, too empty. I sat there, staring at the front door, feeling like my entire life had been ripped apart in a single brutal morning. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, love, sacrifices, memories, shattered like glass at my feet. I needed something, anything to dull the edges of this pain. Ignoring Dr. Reynolds' advice and the antibiotics warning, I got up, found the half-empty bottle of bourbon in the cabinet, and poured myself a glass with shaking hands. If today was going to destroy me, I figured it might as well finish the job. I poured myself a double shot of scotch, hoping it would steady my nerves. It barely touched the sides going down, and neither did the next 4. By the time I stumbled upstairs and collapsed onto our bed, the house was still empty, the car still gone. But not for long. A little while later, I heard the front door open, the familiar sound of backpacks hitting the floor and the kids' voices filling the house. Claire still wasn't home. I sat there in my rumpled suit, half drunk, half broken, when Sarah, James, and little Beth wandered in. They stopped dead in their tracks when they saw me. "Daddy? Why are you home so early? Are you okay?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with worry. James stood there wide-eyed. "You've been drinking. Dad, what's wrong?" I looked at them, my kids, my whole world, and I felt a fresh wave of shame wash over me. They had never seen me like this before. Heck, I had never seen myself like this before. Sarah, almost 15 now, had a look on her face I didn't miss, that sad, too grown-up knowing look. James, bless him, was just confused. And little Beth, only 8, looked terrified I was about to get sick right there in front of them. "Don't throw up, Dad," Beth blurted out, her tiny voice trembling. "I'll get you a bowl or something." I managed a weak smile, shaking my head. "I'm all right, sweetheart. No bowl needed." Trying to pull myself together, I sat up a little straighter. "Listen, kids. I'm not feeling great today. Your mom's at the doctor right now getting checked out and, well, I might have caught something from her. Nothing you need to worry about, okay? You just go do your homework. Everything's going to be fine." James and Beth seemed satisfied enough with that explanation and scampered off, relieved to get away from the uncomfortable sight of their wrecked father. But Sarah stayed behind. I noticed she sat down on the edge of the bed, a little distance between us, her eyes glistening with tears she was trying to hide. Something twisted in my chest. "Sarah, honey, what's wrong?" I asked, trying to sound reassuring. "It's just a little bug, that's all. We'll all be fine, sweetheart." She shook her head, wiping at her eyes. "No, Dad, it won't be fine. I should have told you last month. I should have said something." It took a moment for her words to sink in. My heart stopped. "Told me what, Sarah?" I asked carefully. She looked down at her hands, twisting them in her lap. "About Mom and some guy. I saw them. Together." The floor felt like it dropped out from under me. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Where?" Sarah sniffled. "I was supposed to be at school, but there was a power outage. They canceled classes and sent us home. When I got back around 9 that morning, I saw Mom with some man. In the living room." She paused, looking like she wanted to disappear. "I didn't know what to do, Dad," she whispered. "I thought maybe it was nothing. But they were acting weird. Too close." I didn't even know what to say. The betrayal I felt from Claire had been a knife to the heart, but hearing it from my daughter made it twist even deeper. Sarah had been carrying that secret around alone, scared and hurting just like me. I pulled her into a hug, holding her tighter than I think I ever had before. That evening, Sarah, being the little adult she had been forced to become, managed to pull dinner together for everyone. I wasn't hungry, not even a little, but I sat with them anyway, pretending to eat just to make it feel a little bit normal. James, being James, was full of questions. But one sharp look from Sarah silenced him. Thank God for that. I didn't have any answers to give. Later, when Claire finally came slinking back into the house, I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply stood in the living room doorway and said quietly, "It's too late to find another place tonight. You can sleep in the guest room. Go get your things, all of them. Move them there." She opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand. "I have to go into work tomorrow and sort out some vacation time. We'll talk another day. Not tonight." And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there with her mouth half open. I retreated to the one place that had always been mine. My den, my little sanctuary. I closed the door behind me, sank into the chair at my desk, and finally let it all out. I broke down and cried. Not the quiet, dignified kind either. I cried like a kid who just found out the world isn't fair and never will be. I could hear Claire moving around upstairs, shuffling things, maybe packing, maybe just trying to figure out how to undo the mess she'd made. Eventually it grew quiet. When I finally got up and made my way to the bedroom, it was empty. Just me, the shattered remnants of 15 years, and a future that felt more uncertain than ever. When I finally dragged myself upstairs, the closets were almost empty. Her clothes, her shoes, gone like they had never been part of this home at all. Seeing those bare spaces hit me harder than anything else. It wasn't just her leaving the house, it was her erasing herself from our life together. And with that, the anger surged again. God, Claire. I thought bitterly. All these years. I thought I knew you. I thought we were forever. She was sitting on the edge of the bed when she saw me. Her face crumpled. "Jack, I swear, I've always loved you," she said through her tears. "I don't even know how to explain it. I was lonely. I felt invisible, and John, he was the first. He made me feel alive again. Beautiful. Special." She was sobbing now, her hands covering her face. "And then there were others," she choked out. It spiraled. And the worse it got, the more I lied to myself that I loved it. That it didn't matter." Claire's shoulders shook as she broke down completely. I stood frozen in the doorway, feeling like a ghost in my own home. "Is there even anything left for us?" she pleaded, her voice trembling. "I love you so much, Jack. I really do. I can't live without you." I laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laugh you share over a joke. It was hollow. Broken. "You love me?" I said, my voice low, almost calm now. "You really think I'm that much of a fool? Whatever twisted version of love you've been holding on to led you right into other men's arms." I shook my head, feeling that old pain rising again. "I thought I knew you. Until today, Claire, I would have bet my life on you. Now it just feels like my love for you shattered into a million pieces." Her cries grew louder, but I didn't move. "You broke my trust," I continued, voice thick with emotion, "and I can't forgive you for that. We'll get divorced. After that, you can be with whoever you want, live however you want. But this marriage? You threw it away. 15 years, just gone, for some temporary thrill that I guess I wasn't enough to give you." Claire tried to speak, desperate, scrambling for something to fix the mess she'd made. "Jack, please, let me explain. If I told you it was just one time." "I don't want to hear it," I cut her off sharply. You'll just try to spin it around, make it my fault somehow. I was there for you. Always. Even when I was dead tired from work, I still made time for you. I loved you completely. My hands shook and I had to force myself to stay composed. But you couldn't live with that, could you? I turned toward the door, my voice steely now. You need to get dressed, pack whatever you need and leave this house. You've got 30 minutes. If you're still here after that, I promise you'll regret it. Claire opened her mouth again, but I didn't let her speak. Pack your bags, I said firmly. I don't even want to look at you right now. Outside, I could see the kids sitting on the porch. They didn't need to hear any more of this mess. You need to understand something, I said, keeping my voice low but lethal. The kids are out there. And they deserve better than to see what you've turned their home into. A few minutes later, Claire emerged from the bedroom, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. The kids and I stayed seated on the porch, trying to pretend the world wasn't crumbling behind us. She tried to leave with the car, our car, but found out I'd already disabled it. She had nowhere to go but away on foot, down the driveway she once called home. The kids missed her, of course, how could they not? But there was anger there too, a resentment that even time struggled to soften. Sarah, especially, was cold toward her during the few visitations we allowed. I learned later that James and even little Beth had also seen their mother sneaking around with other men, memories that no child should have to carry. It wasn't easy at first. Nothing about rebuilding from that kind of betrayal ever is. Claire was allowed limited visits, a couple of days each month, a week during the summer. But the truth was the kids were never quite the same with her again. She had shattered more than just a marriage, she had cracked the foundation of our family too. And we were all left picking up the pieces. After everything fell apart, I knew the kids and I couldn't heal just by pretending things were fine. So I took Sarah, James, and Beth to family counseling. It wasn't easy, there were a lot of long sessions, a lot of painful conversations, but over time they started coping better. The cracks were still there, but we learned to live with them instead of letting them define us. As for me, well, rebuilding myself was a whole different battle. Janice's betrayal had shaken my confidence, not just as a husband but as a man. She had broken something deep inside me, something I didn't know how to fix. One afternoon at work, months later, I was standing near the copier, shuffling through reports, when I accidentally overheard two women talking in the break room. You know, Dan's cute but way too young, one said, laughing lightly. And Ted, yeah, he's good looking but such a player. Then the other one chimed in, dropping a name that made me freeze. But Jack? Jack's really handsome, she said. He just seems so distant. I'd love to get to know him, but he barely even notices anyone. I know exactly what you mean, the first one replied. I wish my husband was half the man Jack is. He's strong, good-looking. Honestly, it makes me wish I were single again. I stood there, half-hidden behind the copier, feeling a weird mix of embarrassment and something else I hadn't felt in a long time. Meanwhile, back at home, the drama hadn't fully ended. When Janice tried to leave that day with the car, she had discovered, to her horror, that all 4 tires were flat as pancakes. I stood on the porch with the kids, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. She looked up at me, teary-eyed and humiliated. I couldn't help but let a small smirk tug at the corner of my mouth. Call a cab, Claire, I said calmly. That car's not going anywhere. Her face crumpled even further, but what happened next shocked even me. Sarah, my sweet, quiet Sarah, marched right up to her mother. I expected her to maybe hug her or cry or say something cutting but restrained. Instead, with a quick, sharp motion, Sarah slapped Claire across the face, knocking her off balance and sending her to the ground. You're worse than a street hustler. Sarah shouted, her voice shaking with rage. You're dead to me. And then, without hesitation, she spat at her. Claire just sat there, stunned, wiping tears and spittle from her face. You might wonder if I stepped in. Stop, Sarah, defended Claire. I didn't. Not because I encouraged it, I didn't. But because Sarah had every right to be angry. She had every right to defend herself, her brothers and sister, and the broken family her mother had left behind. After that, Claire slowly faded out of our lives. She still saw the kids a few days each month and for a week in the summer, but as far as I was concerned, she might as well have been a ghost. Every time she crossed my mind, that old wound reopened, raw and aching no matter how much time passed. The years slipped by faster than I expected. Sarah turned 18 and blossomed into a beautiful, strong young woman. James matured into a serious, responsible young man. And little Beth was growing up fast, showing all the signs that she would be just as stunning, and just as tough, as her sister. One evening, Sarah caught me sitting alone after dinner, staring into my coffee cup. Dad, she said, nudging my arm, you should start dating again. I let out a heavy sigh. I don't know, sweetheart. I don't think I'm ready. It's just dinner, she said with a grin. No strings attached. Just meet someone. See where it goes. I laughed, shaking my head, but deep down her words planted a seed. After a lot of coaxing, I finally agreed. Fine, I said, chuckling. But if I don't have a date in a month, you're off the hook. The following week, feeling a little bold, and probably a little foolish, I decided to try asking out one of the women I had overheard near the copier. It did not go well. I caught her on a busy day, rushed and distracted, and blurted out some half-formed invitation to coffee. She looked at me like I'd just asked her if she wanted to rob a bank with me. Mortified, I backed away, muttering some excuse and retreating into my office like a wounded animal. I spent the rest of the day hiding behind piles of paperwork, avoiding eye contact with everyone. In my head, it played out 1,000 ways, all of them ending with me getting slapped with a harassment complaint. The fear was irrational, but it was there, clawing at me. Maybe I just wasn't built for that kind of companionship anymore. Maybe some parts of me had healed, but others were still too broken to offer anything real to anyone else. At least that's what I told myself. I'm just not interested in dating, I said flatly, trying to end the conversation. Sarah wasn't letting me off the hook that easily. Have you talked to Amy again? She pressed, her eyebrows raising a little. I let out a long sigh and shook my head. No. I've been avoiding her, I admitted, feeling like a teenager caught skipping school. It's awkward now. I probably ruined a good work relationship with that one clumsy move, and I have no idea how to fix it. Sarah smiled, that knowing, slightly mischievous smile she had inherited from her mother, the good parts of Claire. Don't worry about it, Dad, she said. Seriously, you're overthinking it. She's probably just assuming you changed your mind. It's probably driving her crazy, wondering why. She reached over and patted my arm. Just be yourself. It'll work itself out when you're ready. Maybe you'll end up liking her. Maybe even loving her. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like you've made up your mind for me. Sarah laughed. Sometimes a girl has to take charge, Dad. Ever since Mom left, you've been carrying all this sadness around. I worry about you. I was scared, that you might do something drastic. That stopped me cold. My throat tightened and I looked over at her, really looked at her. I never wanted you to worry about that, I said quietly. But I get it now. I do. Sarah nodded, looking older than her 18 years. I couldn't stop thinking about Rebecca's dad, she said, her voice soft. Rebecca had been one of Sarah's closest friends. A few years back, Rebecca had come home to flashing lights, an ambulance, police cruisers. Her father had taken his own life after discovering his wife's affair. The tragedy left scars on that family that hadn't faded. Hearing Sarah admit that she had feared the same for me hit like a punch to the gut. I realized then how much I'd been burying, not just the hurt but the fear, the anger, the shame. And how much it had weighed down not just me but my kids too. Ashamed, I knew Sarah was right. I had let one awkward moment, one little misstep, become a mountain I was too afraid to climb. Later that week, after a lot of pacing and second-guessing, I finally approached Amy. She was in the break room, pouring coffee, and I knew if I didn't speak now, I might never get the nerve again. I cleared my throat awkwardly. Hey Amy. I know I caught you off guard the other day when I asked you out. I didn't exactly handle it well. She turned, smiling kindly, waiting for me to continue. I was nervous, I said. And after I blurted it out like a fool, I panicked and, avoided you. I rubbed the back of my neck, feeling about 12 years old. I was worried, I admitted. Worried you'd think it was harassment or that I was overstepping. I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. If I could do it over, I'd have handled it with a little more conversation instead of just blurting out a clumsy question. Amy laughed, not a mean laugh but a warm, genuine one. Jack, you're fine, she said, her eyes twinkling. I mean, honestly, I was kind of flattered. You're handsome and I'd thought about it before too, I just didn't expect it. Then she grinned. But if you're still interested, maybe try again. With a little more charm this time. The tension melted off my shoulders. You're beautiful, I said without thinking. Really beautiful. And I still am, pretty nervous around you. She tilted her head, smiling wider. Keep going. I like hearing you call me beautiful. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in a long, long time. Somewhere in the back of my mind, that heavy cloud that had followed me around for years began to lift. Amy agreed to go out with me after all. It was like someone had thrown me a lifeline and, for the first time in a long time, I felt excited about the future. Later that night, as I was cleaning up after dinner, Sarah cornered me in the kitchen. "Dad," she said, grinning from ear to ear. "You're all set up for your date, day after tomorrow? At the yacht club across town." I blinked at her, confused. "My, what now?" Sarah rolled her eyes dramatically. "Your date, Dad. Are you losing your memory too?" she teased. I laughed, shaking my head. "You just caught me off guard, kiddo. That's all." "Well," she continued smugly, "she wanted to meet you somewhere nice, on her turf. You're going to need to wear something decent. Don't worry, I'll help you pick something out. Can't have you showing up looking like you're still hiding from the world." The thought of dating again still made my stomach flip, but for the first time in a long while. It didn't scare me. It actually felt like hope. Walking into the yacht club felt like stepping into another world, a world where I didn't quite belong. Every man in the room, even the waiters, seemed sharper, slicker, more polished than I felt. The suits were tailored, the smiles easy, and the confidence practically oozed from every corner. I sat there stiffly, tugging at my too-tight collar, wondering if maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe Susan, or Amy as I had come to know her better, would change her mind. Maybe she'd get caught up in something else and forget about the date altogether. Maybe I could just quietly slip out before making a complete fool of myself. The minutes dragged on, each one cranking up my nerves another notch. I was just about ready to make a discreet exit when a quiet stir rolled through the crowd, like a ripple across a still pond. Heads turned. Conversations faltered. Even the waitstaff paused. That's when she walked in. Amy, stunning, radiant, breathtaking, wearing an elegant navy dress that looked like it belonged on the cover of a magazine. Every man in the place couldn't help but notice her. And somehow, she was here for me. I swallowed hard, feeling even more out of place. A young waiter approached our table with a wide grin. "I recommend the specialty of the house tonight," he said. "I think you'll love it, sir." "For the lady as well?" Amy smiled graciously. "Yes, please." "My pleasure," the waiter said, disappearing to put in our order. Meanwhile, I sat there flustered, struggling to find anything halfway intelligent to say. Amy must have noticed because after a few moments she leaned in slightly and said, "You know, after we finish this glass of wine, maybe we could head somewhere else. Somewhere a little more casual?" I exhaled, relieved beyond words. Yeah," I said, stumbling a little. That sounds great. You're truly beautiful, you know that?" I added before I could stop myself. Amy's cheeks flushed slightly and she smiled, that warm, genuine smile that had made me fall a little harder with every meeting. The nerves started to settle, and for the first time that evening I actually began to relax. Later that night, after I got home, Sarah was waiting for me in the living room, practically bouncing on the couch. "Well?" she demanded the second I walked through the door. I chuckled. "You were right," I admitted, tossing my jacket onto a chair. "Amy is incredible. Beautiful. Kind. And, well, I'd really like to get to know her better." Sarah pumped her fist in the air, victorious. "Yes. I knew it. I knew you two would hit it off." I laughed, shaking my head. "Sarah, it's not like it's a competition or something," I teased. "But yeah, you were right. You like her, Dad. That's a big win." "It's a huge deal," she said, her excitement almost comical to watch. I let her have her moment. After everything we'd been through, seeing Sarah genuinely happy, about anything, was a gift I wasn't about to ruin. Still, underneath the joy there was something quieter, a part of me that was still cautious. Sarah must have sensed it too. "Trust Dad," she said seriously, all the playfulness gone from her voice. "You need someone you can trust. Not like Mom." Her words hit me like a slow, steady wave. I had gone quiet, my thoughts slipping back to old wounds that hadn't fully healed, even after all this time. "You're right," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Without another word, Sarah stepped into my arms and hugged me tight. I felt her tears on my cheek before I even realized she was crying. You'd think after several years the betrayal wouldn't still sting. That maybe time would have scabbed over the pain. But betrayal is funny like that. It doesn't just leave scars. It reshapes the whole way you see the world. I held Sarah close, grateful for her strength, for her heart. She had survived too. We all had. The next few dates with Amy were easy, light. We kept it simple: dinner, long conversations, slow walks under the stars. Nothing heavy. Nothing rushed. But one night things felt different. There was a warmth between us that hadn't been there before, something electric simmering just under the surface. She invited me back to her place for a nightcap, and I agreed, telling myself it would just be a little more conversation, maybe a hug goodnight. Something safe. Something familiar. But as the evening unfolded, as the wine softened the edges and her hand found mine, I felt excitement and fear creeping in. When she leaned in and kissed me, I let myself melt into it, at first. But just as the moment deepened, Amy paused. She pulled back slightly, her eyes searching mine, gentle but careful. Neither of us said anything, but in that pause, there was a question hanging between us. Was I ready to let someone new into the places that had been broken? Was I ready to trust again? I think Amy was a little apprehensive that night too, or at least that's what I told myself. It wasn't just me feeling nervous. We both knew we were standing on the edge of something bigger, something that could change everything. We went inside and poured a couple of glasses of wine, trying to shake off the tension. We talked about little things at first, work, friends, random memories, until the conversation turned toward more personal topics. I guess you remember when the doctor's office called your work last year? Amy asked casually. I blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, that was an accident, I said slowly. You were there, of course. Not like I've been with anyone else since then. She smiled gently. And Sarah mentioned you and Susan haven't really taken that next step yet. I raised an eyebrow. Sarah told you that? Amy chuckled. She said she was hoping you and Susan would move forward, that you deserved happiness. That's when it hit me. Amy wasn't just being a good friend. She was giving me a gentle push, telling me that whatever future I might have with Susan, I needed to chase it. I've wanted to be close to you for a long time, Amy admitted, her voice soft, but now that we're here, I know where your heart really is. After that conversation, I found myself standing alone in the kitchen later that night, thinking about both women. Amy, my dear friend, had offered companionship without pressure, a bridge back into trusting again. Susan, meanwhile, represented something deeper, the chance to build a real future. I felt a strange mix of confusion and contentment. Life hadn't unfolded how I planned, but somehow, I had landed exactly where I needed to be. Amy's suggestion, that we stay close but keep it simple, had helped me in ways I didn't expect. It allowed me to relax, to stop feeling anxious about timing everything perfectly with Susan. I could take things at the pace they needed to go. A few days later, Sarah caught me coming home from a night out with Susan. How'd it go? She asked slyly. It went well, I said carefully. She gave me a look, that mischievous, knowing look that only a daughter can pull off, and I realized she had noticed something. When I excused myself to the bathroom, I spotted it in the mirror. Red lipstick smudges on my collar and a faint hickey on my neck. Wonderful, I thought, real subtle, Jack. When I came back out, Sarah burst out laughing. So, things are getting serious, huh? I fumbled for words. Well, it's not like that exactly. Sarah just smiled. Dad, come on. You can't get pregnant, you know. Relax. She teased me a little more before turning serious again. I'm happy for you, she said. Susan's good for you. And you're good for her. Later, talking with Amy, we cleared the air completely. I really care about you, she said warmly. But it's not the kind of love that's meant to last forever. I nodded, feeling a surprising sense of peace. Honestly, Amy continued, smiling softly, if you and Susan have a chance at happiness, you need to take it. She's a keeper, Jack. I can see it every time you say her name. I couldn't argue. It was written all over me. In fact, it wasn't long before I realized I didn't just like Susan. I loved her. Deeply. Fully. The kind of love I had once thought I'd never find again. Not long after, I asked her to marry me. Sarah and Beth stood proudly as bridesmaids on our wedding day, and James, my steady, dependable son, was my best man. Seeing them all standing there beaming made me realize just how far we had come. Susan, sweet, patient, loyal Susan, is everything I could have ever wanted in a wife. And every day, I thank God I didn't let fear keep me from loving again. Our family blended beautifully. Sarah is thriving in college, chasing her MBA with the same determination she always had. James is about to graduate high school and head off to college himself, something I still can't believe some days. And Beth, my baby girl, is a junior now, already showing all the best parts of her sister and carving out her own path too. As for my ex-wife Claire, well, time hasn't been quite as kind to her. Her choices caught up with her, personally, socially, even in her health. It's not something I celebrate, but it's a reminder. Truth always finds its way to the surface, eventually. Looking back, I realize now, betrayal broke me once. But love, real love, earned and fought for, healed me. And as I sit here now, watching my family grow stronger every day, I know one thing for sure. The best chapters of my life weren't the ones I thought were perfect. They were the ones I survived.